said that you must have your objectives, and I've shown you all the levels of objective that you can set. Then you go and collect data about the variables. Okay. And then once you collect data about the variables, then you use your analytical techniques or tools to analyze those objectives. So what you get out of the data analysis becomes what you call your results. So result refers to what we get after we have analyzed the data in respect of every objective, or in respect of all the objectives. The result captures what we get after analyzing the objectives of the research. Normally, if you have 5 objectives, we expect that you should have 5 main results. Is that not it? If you have 3 objectives, you should have 3 main what? Results. So the number of results corresponds with the number of objectives that you have set for yourself. So if you set objective 1, if you analyze what you had, becomes what you call the results. Objective 2, if you analyze what you get, becomes what you call the results. Objective 3, when you analyze what you get, becomes the results for the objective 3. So when you add it, all of them, then they become the result for your research. That's all.
So the result is the analysis of the objectives?
No, it goes beyond analysis. It is what you get after you have analyzed the results.
So the findings.
Yeah, so that becomes what we call the findings. So something is lacking here. Data what? Analysis, right? That is the second component that I'm going to teach you. So if you don't have the skill in data analysis, can you get results for your objective 1? Can you get for your objective 2? Objective 3? You cannot. Or you still have an option. You may decide that you can outsource somebody who is an expert in data analysis to analyze your data for you, so that you can get your results for the various objectives. So this place, it is allowed. It's not everyone who is a statistician. Okay. So if you cannot do the data analysis, if you don't have any skill in it, what do? You approach a firm, a reputable firm, or an individual who is a good data analyst. The person will take your data, look at the way you have measured the variables and all those things, and look at your objective, and then use the right analytical techniques to analyze your data for you so that you get your results. Okay. So how do we present your results? Normally, your results, we present them either on tables or figures. You present your results in tables or on figures. Okay. When you do your data analysis, the results will come and you can present it in tables or figures. Let's have a look at example of results. I have one article here. And this article so you see, look at it. I have my results. You can look at it from here. I have my results on table. Is that not it? So this is what I got after analyzing the data in the form of a table. I can equally get some of the results in figures. Do you see the figures there? Okay. So it's either you are representing your results in tables or you are presenting them on what? Figures. Now let's look at what you have to do when it comes to reporting of your results. The results will be generated through tables and what figures. So what that you have to do is that you take them and you put them under where they each belong to. So if the result is for objective 1, so maybe objective 1, under it you put the table there, is that not it? Then you give it a heading. That's all. Then we have we have two components, it's results and discussion, right? So you don't just only put the table there. When you put the table there, tell us what is in the table or what is on the figure, right? And that becomes what we call results. So you speak to the issues that are in the table or on the figure, that's all. So if you see this one, I should be able to talk about what this r square and r square adjusted mean, right? This is my findings. So the findings in table 9 demonstrate the coefficient of the determination. It can be seen that changes in blah 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 can cause, you understand my point? So that is it. So as for the reporting of your finding, you will be good in it if you know how to do data analysis. If you don't know how to do data analysis, you can't report your findings. Because the thing there doesn't mean anything to you. Look at these figures.
I don't mean.
Do they mean something to you?
Same R square. Same D square.
These things. What does it mean?
CA. Relative account. CLS.
So if you don't have strong grip on data analysis, this place will not mean anything to you. But me, somebody who has been doing data analysis, I see the figure, I see the table. As soon as I see the table, I know what it is talking about. Even if I don't know what the research is about, I'll look at the table, I'll look at the figures, and I'll be able to tell you what the research is about. So it is good that you advance by learning the data analysis, and that will make you complete. Okay. So when you get your findings, the objectives, you put the table under it, and then you explain what you have found. Is that not it? Then we go to the second component, what we call discussion. When we talk about discussion, we mean the implication of what you have found. Objective 1 wanted to look at the relationship between maybe mechanization and agricultural productivity. And you have seen that there is a positive, significant relationship, but it's a moderate relationship between the two. What does it mean? You understand? You should be able to demonstrate that you understand first what the nature of the objective that has been set, and 2, what that finding also means. You don't just say that you have found a positive moderate relationship, significant relationship between mechanization of agric and productivity and living there. What does it mean? So when we talk about the discussion, we are looking at you explaining what the findings mean so that the common people, the ordinary person will understand what you have gotten. You explain it in such a way that the ordinary person, okay, people will read your findings and they must appreciate and understand it. That's all. So all these things, if you don't have that background I'm talking about, if you don't have the skill in data analysis, can you interpret your results? Can you tell them what it means? But when you go through the data analysis, every result that you get, you'll be able to understand it and interpret its meaning. So the second component that we call discussion is more about interpreting what your research result is about. This is what I wanted to find. This is what I've gotten. What does it mean? You have gotten that kind of results. That is the discussion component. But there are some few rules I can help you out with when you are doing the discussion. The first thing is that when you get any finding, you have to cross-check your finding to your statement of the problem. Okay? So when you get any finding discussion, you can write it down. when you want to discuss any findings, the first thing you do is that you compare the findings to the statement of the problem. Okay, that's very, very important. Remember, the statement of the problem tells us why the need for the study. So when we do the research, your finding will help us to know whether that problem still persists that you are finding or does not. Is that not it? So that's why you have to go to the problem statement and cross-check with the problem statement and see if that program is still persisting or not. Maybe in 2014, somebody did a research and said that even though we are calling for mechanization of agricultural practices in Ghana, productivity is still low. Now you have done your research. You also found out that mechanization increases productivity significantly by maybe about, say, 50% margin. So you see that the problem that you identified that mechanization did not improve productivity, your finding is now telling us that it rather what improves productivity. So you can say that then it means that that problem is still not a problem based on the findings that you have gotten. If the study says that, people say that, people vote based, people don't do critical analysis before they vote for people, especially on religious lines. They vote for people that they belong to the same religion. Then your research shows that, no, people don't vote based on their religion. Wouldn't you tell us that then it means that that problem that was said that is happening, your research is refuting it? Because your research shows that people don't vote based on their religious lives. Rather, they analyze the policies of the government or of the political party and the candidate before they vote. Is that not it? So you must always be able to link your findings straight to your problem statement and tell us where the problems have been solved and where the problem has not been solved. That's the first thing. Second thing is that you have to come and tell us the meaning of the findings. So once you link your findings to your problem, the second thing is that you have to come and tell us the meaning of what the findings or the implications. The implications of the findings. And once you finish with the implications, then you come and link your findings to the position of the theory. Remember, when we were doing the conceptual framework, we told you that the relationship between all the variables that we have, we must have a theory, is that not it?
Yeah.
So the findings, is it supported by the theory or it's not supported by what? The theory. So that is the third point. So the first, you link it to your problem statement. Second, you bring the implications of the findings. Third, you also link it to what the theory is saying, to either confirm or refute what the theory is saying.
The second is not.
You have written it all.
You have already written. The second is about the implications of the findings. And then the third is linking it to what? The theory. Okay. Then once you link it to the theory, then you go to the last bit of it. You link it to empirical findings. You link it to empirical findings. You link your findings to previous empirical findings. Previous empirical findings. Do you remember empirical review? Who taught you empirical review? I'm the one, right?
Yeah.
Have you forgotten empirical review?
Maybe not. Scientific.
Remember I told you that
Those two systems.
the reasons why you do empirical review is that when you get your findings, you compare what you have found to what has been done and see whether they are the same or they are different. It's entirely new things. Whether they relate or they do not relate. So that is the fourth point I just mentioned. So the finding that is important, you link it up to previous position, and that's all. And that is what we call results in discussion. These are basic principles. Whenever you apply to every research, you can do a good results presentation discussion. Now, if you pick objective 1, you have to link objective 1 to the problem statement. You have to link objective 1 to the meaning of it. Is that not it? You have to also link it to what? Theory. You have to also link it to what? Empirical study. Is that not it? Then you are done. If you pick objective 2, you link the findings to problem statement. You link the findings. You link the findings, or you link the findings to problem statement. You link the findings to its implication. Then you link the findings to theory, and also link the finding to what? Empirical evidence or previous studies. If you take objective 3, the same thing, that's how it's going to be. So I don't know if I'm to use any machine or any work to demonstrate how the result is like to you, because we don't have any result to demonstrate for you to really appreciate it. Even if I do that, you may not get the context because you don't understand what they mean. But if you go by these 4 principles, every findings that you get, if you go by these principles, you'll be able to present them nicely. So that is that. Then we go to the last chapter, which is about, the last chapter is about summary, conclusions, and recommendations. Summary, conclusions, and recommendations. That is usually the final chapter of the research that you are going to do, or what you do. And in this chapter, it is one of the easiest chapter to write. Why? Because your summary is already embedded in your chapter 4, based on your findings. Your conclusion is also based on the findings that you have made. And then your recommendation is also based on the findings that you have made. So it's very easy to write that one, that section. Everything is linked to what? Your findings.
You said the recommendation is...
It's also based on your findings. You only make recommendation based on what you have found in the research. Is that not it? So here, your research findings become the center of the stage. Center stage. By what? Research findings. It also means that if you pick summary, each objective you must give the summary of it. Each objective you must bring its conclusion. Is that not it? And for each objective you must bring what? Recommendation. We get the findings based on the objective. Is that not it? You get the findings based on what? Your objective. Because it is the objective that you analyze to get your findings. So what I'm saying is that if you have objective 1, you must have a summary of objective 1, conclusion of objective 1, and recommendation for what? Objective 1. If you have objective 2, you must have summary for what? Objective 2, conclusion for objective 2, and recommendation for what? Objective 2. That is how it should be. So for each of the objectives, you should be able to deal with them in this perspective. So quickly, let's look at what we mean by summary. Summary. To summarize something means what? To summarize a work means what? To you, let's try and discuss. To summarize means what?
Make it simple without changing the...
Good. So, regarding the chapter 4, when we are doing the results, sometimes you use some technical jargons to represent it, some technical terms. to represent the findings. But when you're writing the summary, you write it in such a way that it is easy to understand in a simple manner. So for instance, I can say that for my findings, I can say there's a statistically significant positive relationship between modernization of agriculture and that of productivity, or mechanization of agriculture and that of productivity. That is a bit technical, as I noted. Then I use my figures to write it. But when I go to the summary, I try to make sure that whenever I can say that, when firms or farms mechanize their productivity, mechanize their farming operations, it is able to help them to improve their productivity by its also margin. So if you pick any of the objectives, you should be able to write it in a simple way. You shouldn't include a lot of technical jargons as is found in the results. But when it comes to the summary, you write it in a simple way that is easily understandable. And that is what we call the summary. So it is presented like this. When you pick the summary, if you don't understand, ask so. So when you pick summary, so summary, you talk about objective 1, right? Objective what? To objective what? Up to that. Then you are done with it. Then you go to what? Conclusions. So you conclude about what? Objective what? To an objective what? Have you seen how it's presented? It's not like when you pick objective 1, summary, conclusion, no. You bring all the summary here. After that, we move toward conclusion. And then after that, we move toward recommendations. Okay. So let's look at what we mean by conclusion. Conclusion.
So you say the summary, you break down the big jargons that you used for it to be simple.
Yeah. And therefore, you don't have to include a lot of figures and technical measures in the reporting of the summary. Okay. Have a look at this. The reportage, the direct effect. Read it for me.
Direct effects. CLS failed to significantly
That is result.
Failed to significantly predict F beta minus 0.055.
Okay, negative
0.055. P negative 0.320. P negative 0.05. Hypothesis H is rejected.
Okay, H1 is also rejected.
Okay.
Do you see, is it a language that you understand?
No, I don't understand.
We don't understand, but we can see he's talking about something to make it simple.
Yeah, very good.
So
but this is not summary. This is a results because we are using a lot of technical jargons in it. But when you go to the summary, for instance, if it is a PAD work, you will see that the same thing, we respond it and write it in a way. Conclusion. Now, this one is not like the thesis formula, but look at the conclusions. Read it and let's see.
Conclusion. Conclusively, ES improve small-scale enterprises' performance better than FS, although they all improve FP. CLS fails to improve FM. MA activities.
The same statement is what you saw there. I said that it fails to then P is equal to blah 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 blah. Okay.
So it has make it understandable.
Understandable. These are just acronyms. FP is for financial performance. FS is for cost strategy. CLS is cost leadership strategy. So you can say that cost leadership strategy to improve financial performance or market and dexterity activities do not transmit the effect of other generic strategies on financial performance. Financial performance translates against direct differentiation strategy and focus strategy into competitive advantage for SMEs. You understand?
Yeah.
So when you are writing the results itself, it's very technical. But when you want to write it in a form of summary, you break it down to make it easily understandable. Now let's look at conclusions. To conclude means what?
To conclude.
To pass final judgment about what you are dealing with, right? So if you say that you wanted to look at the impact of religious orientation on choice of political leaders, what is your conclusion about that based on your findings?
Based on my findings, my conclusion.
Maybe your finding will say that maybe religious orientation causes small but positive increase in choice of political candidates. So what is your conclusion? Your conclusion will be that when it comes to, conclusion might be based on your findings. That's why I'm just bringing the findings first. So you can say, conclusion can be that religious orientation is influencing people to vote, but a very few people or very small influence that it is bringing on board. Is that not it? So conclusion is about your objective. Based on what you have found for the objective, what do you make of it? And when you are writing about your conclusion, it should be based on present tense, not past. Your conclusion should be on reported speech, so that one should be past tense. Sorry, your summary of findings is in the past, right? It was discovered that it was blah blah blah. But when you are writing your conclusion, it should be in what? Present tense, because that is what you are making of the final objective.
So the recommendation in the future.
Very good. So you see how they go for your summary in the past, recommendation, present tense or present continuous, and then recommendation, future what? Tense, right? What must be done? Is that not it?
Yeah.
Good. So you see how scientific the research is about. It's because we have not done research, that's why we are not able to conclude. But when we start the actual kind of thing, maybe we'll be able to conclude properly. Okay. Then the last one is about recommendations. So if you pick any of these, recommendation is you make inference about the findings and how the findings should be used. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So we make inference about the findings and also tell us how the findings should be used. Because remember, in your chapter 1, you gave significance of the study. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Significance of the study. You identify stakeholders and you tell us how the findings involve them. Do you remember? So now that you have gotten your findings, based on your objectives, what recommendations do you offer for them? So if you pick objective 1, you should get a recommendation. If you pick objective 2, you should get a recommendation. If you pick objective 3, you should get what? A recommendation. And the recommendation, we can write it based on 3 main dimensions. Either you are recommending for practice. You can recommend for practice. You can recommend for what? Policy. You can also recommend for theory. When you are recommending, it's either you are recommending for management to do something or practice something, or for policy direction, or for what? Theoretical direction. Okay. So whenever you are thinking about any recommendation, you have to think of 3 things: policy recommendation, practice recommendation, and what? Theoretical what? Recommendation. And in each of these things, it should be guided by these rules. Okay. For instance, if you tell them that mechanization of farming is improving farming productivity, therefore you tell them that farmers should continue using mechanization. Okay, they should continue using what? Mechanization in their farming practices. That is not all. You should be able to tell us deeper things. So if you pick any of the recommendations that we have, you should be able to tell us what. What are you recommending? You should be able to tell us why you are recommending. Very, very important. You should be able to tell us how it should be executed. Is that not it?
Yeah.
When? And where? Okay. Time and situations. Is that not it? Who? And to whom? And to whom? Don't underestimate these principles here. Very, very powerful. Most people find it difficult recommending because they can tell us what to do and they are stuck. But you have to develop every recommendation into a paragraph. You have to develop every recommendation into what? A paragraph. So going by these principles, if you tell us what we must do, you should be able to tell us why we have to do it, how it should be done, when and where must they do it, who should do it, and to what, whom, who is going to benefit from it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost done. The last one. The last one. The last one. So, I'm not giving you this kind of thing because we have not analyzed anything. Okay, let me see. If, for instance, for this particular research, I say that the owners and managers of SME should adopt differentiation strategies and focus strategies. So I've told who to do it and what they should do, right? I should be able to tell them how they should do it, when they should do it, where they should do it, and for whom. Is that not it? So that is it. If you recommend that, they should give farmers more training on how to use mechanized agricultural practices. Who should do it? When must they do it? How should they do it? What must it contain? Is that not it? You should be able to answer all those kind of questions. And your recommendation become more relevant. If you think that religious orientation has impact on political parties, so on the choice of political party leaders, and then you make a recommendation like, I think that religious leaders should be involved or should be consulted when political parties want to formulate their political agenda. Is that not what you are? Who should do it? Where must they do it? How should they do it? Is that not it? You should be able to ask yourself these questions, and you providing answers to them will help you to be able to get a very good kind of recommendation. Okay. So that is it. Then the last bit of the chapter 5 that we are going to deal with is what we call limitations. Limitations and suggestions for further studies. Limitations and suggestions for further studies. Some people write it future studies, okay? It depends on the context. Limitations and suggestions for further studies. No research can be seen as perfectly correct, that it answers all questions in this life. So limitations are weaknesses, okay? You should be able to pinpoint the weaknesses in your research. You don't say that your research there, it is without any trouble, everything is perfect, no. No matter how meticulous, how serious you were in all those things, your work is likely to be exposed to some weaknesses, and therefore you should be able to tell us what those weaknesses are. You telling us the weaknesses in your research does not eliminate the relevance of the research. It rather shows the maturity that you exercise as a researcher, because it is based on the weakness that you have identified that we are going to suggest for further studies. Have you seen it?
So the weakness of your own research.
Yes. Shows that you are mature. Yeah. You can't say that everything that you do is right, everything perfect. No. You should be able to pinpoint. And that weakness is what we call what? Limitation. Don't go and say financial constraint. That is a challenge. Despite the financial constraint, you're able to do the research. Is that not it? But weaknesses are the deficiencies. Okay? Weaknesses are the deficiencies associated with the work itself.
So always you must get weakness.
You will get, because when you bring your work, somebody will see a weakness in it.
What if you correct it before presenting?
Can you correct all weaknesses? Still, we will get a weakness to talk about. The reason is that for every research, you don't control all factors affecting the research. So always somebody can pinpoint something to you. Okay? Somebody can pinpoint or identify some weakness in your research. And it is good that you yourself acknowledge that this, despite the fact that this research is good, blah, 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 it has this kind of what? Limitations. That's all. And so once you be able to pinpoint your limitations, then you should be able to tell us future direction of research. If people want to do similar research, what and what, or where you want them to do their research to cover. Okay. If people want to do similar research or in that research area, where and what do you want them to do their research to cover? And that is the suggestion for further studies. So if you pick every article, if you pick articles, you will see that they always have that one as before. Thesis to also have the same thing. Have you seen? Look at this article. You have limitations and suggestions for further studies. Have a look at it. Have you seen that?
Limitations. Okay.
Yeah, you can't say that your work is perfectly well. There is nothing like.
This can even help in terms of recommending certain parts of the research, like you did this part, you were able to cover this part, so more research can be done on maybe this part.
Yes. But if you think that, oh, you are Mr. Perfect, and there it is. So, you see that the generalization of the findings is somehow constrained because micro and large enterprises were excluded from the study. Is that not it? Hence, the findings reflect the situation of SMEs in the Ghanaian business context. The study relied on subjective assessment of owners and managers of SMEs to measure the variables of cost. Hence, more objective measurement criteria are required in future studies. So, that is the limitation that the study had. Despite the fact that they were able to analyze the data to achieve the objective, do the discussion, blah, blah, it still has some inherent weakness. We have to really point them out. So if people want to do further studies, even in the same distance, they can correct that kind of weaknesses, then they are good to go. So this brings us to the end.